Well, namaskar and a very good morning to everyone. Thank you all so much for not only being here today, but for the warmth with which this country continues to distinguish itself in convening the world. And so many of my friends in the Indian military are here today, and I want to thank everybody. As an enthusiastic reader of the Economic Times every morning, it's nice to be invited by the ET infrastructure to come here and to really take that moment. As we say, the days sometimes can't see what years can tell us. And so we have a moment to look backwards at the years past, to look forward at the years ahead, and to take stock of this moment and our place as players in writing the next chapter of India's history together. And I'd like to thank the Economic Times and ET government for organizing this conclave today, for so many friends across so many different missions that are here, as well as the nonprofit, journalists, military sectors, and the government officials that are here as well. Congratulations to our Defense Secretary Designate. Thank you, Rajesh Kumar Singh, for the work that you have been doing and that we will do together as two great friends and partners with the United States and India. But really, when you have thinkers here as well that help us look at what's on the horizon, affix our gaze to that, work together to move towards it, it's always an inspiring day. You know, in the last year and a half as ambassador to this country, I've seen some incredible landmarks. On a most amazing state dinner when Prime Minister Modi came to Washington, D.C., a place he described as a student that he had looked through the gates of and dreamt one day of going to, never imagining that he would be the guest of honor. A successful state visit often has 5 or 10 so-called deliverables, big ticket items that countries agree to together. And last year, we were tracking 173 of them just at that dinner and that convening alone. Then when our president came here to what was the best hosted G20 in G20 history, congratulations to India, we saw, again, the power of the US-India partnership, which I always say is not a relationship of addition. It's not India plus the United States, it's India times the United States, to not only put our values forward together collectively, but also to ensure pathways towards a more just, a more livable world for everyone. And together, the United States and India are setting an example to build a more peaceful Indo-Pacific. Our people have never been more closely tied. This is our second largest mission in the world after our mission in Mexico, our neighbor. We have seen the warmth between Indian and Indian American families, a bridge built over decades. The joke in America was way back when, if you were Indian, you couldn't become a CEO in America. Now the joke is, if you're not Indian, you can't become a CEO in America, as so many of our Fortune 500 companies are led by the diaspora community and Indians who have come to our country. 1.5% of our population is now of Indian descent. 6% of our tax base comes from those Indian Americans who have been immensely successful, more than any other immigrant group. We even have a vice president who is the daughter of an Indian immigrant. We see in government, in our military, in our finance, in our politics, in our economy, in our academic leaders, that Indians are making a difference here, in America, but vice versa. We know that Americans are making a big difference here too. And we do so much in the military space together. We're proud to be India's #1 exercise partner. And just to speak personally for a moment, I served for 12 years in the United States military as a naval officer. And I may be the only ambassador serving right now who's actually served alongside in uniform with my Indian brothers and sisters in exercises like the Rim of the Pacific, RIMPAC, where I saw and formed friendships with other junior officers at the time now who have gone up the chain of command, who've understood that we had the same dreams. The American dream and the Indian dream are the same. A rules-based order, societies that are democracies vibrantly on display this year, and places where the rights of people are equal. It doesn't matter where you come from, what language you speak, how much money your parents have, but if you work hard, study hard, anything is possible together. And I think it's that vision that links our militaries as well. Our troops conduct joint training exercises and operations from the mountains of Alaska to the shores of the Indian Ocean. Our forces have forged connections through a strong tradition of exchanges at a strategic, operational, and tactical level. And our defense industries, excitingly, are increasingly interconnected and intertwined, co-developing and co-producing together. For us, for instance, India helps us manufacture our Apache helicopters, our C-130 transport aircraft, and soon the most exquisite, farthest advanced fighter jet engines in human history will be made right here in India through a US-India partnership. That is trust, that is respect, but it's something deeper too. We have a friendship in which our hearts now feel the same way. We have, I think, analysts who look at the world and see it with some of the same threats in the same way in this Indo-Pacific. So we feel alike, our hearts are aligned. We think alike, our heads are aligned. The question now for us is how quickly can we get our feet aligned to go further, faster, together. Since signing our first defense framework in 2005, the United States and India are building a robust partnership that is now the cornerstone of security in the Indo-Pacific. How do we get systems at sustainable costs with resilient supply chains? And I love, Secretary-Designate, what you said. We want an India that is producing and making not just in India, but for the world. That is a goal that our President, our Congress, and our people share with you. The United States has become, of course, a major supplier of defense equipment to India and is the largest exercise partner. We're also the largest importer of defense products from India. That is a title we're very proud of. Oftentimes you think countries just brag about what we're selling in another country. We actually are bragging about what we import from India as the largest importer now. We purchase more than 50% of India's defense-related exports. And I'm pleased to announce that total defense trade with India has increased from near zero in 2008 to approximately $25 billion in 2023. And that trade includes the sale to India of advanced defense platforms like the Apache helicopters I mentioned, P-81 maritime surveillance aircraft that are increasingly interoperable, and they've bolstered India's defense capabilities together. It includes joint ventures like the production of M777 howitzers for the United States, collaborations that help both of our defense industries and that increasingly link our next generations of production together. And in 2016, the United States designated India as a major defense partner, even, we would say, a preferential one, followed by India's elevation to Strategic Trade Authorization Tier 1 in 2018, giving India license-free access to a wide range of military and dual-use technologies regulated by the United States Department of Commerce. So this is an exciting moment. And now the US-India defense trade cooperation continues to expand with agreements such as the Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement, we call it LAMOA, Communications Compatibility and Security Agreement, COMCASA, and the Industrial Security Agreement for Co-Production. And we just recently signed, in the last couple months, SOSA, the Security of Supply Agreement, so that we can continue to supply each other with the needs of our military. This was unthinkable just a few decades ago and unprecedented in our history. But ever since 1792, when we sent our second consulate ever in the world to Kolkata, we have had centuries of cooperation and collaboration, the advocacy of India's independence, the recognition of the borders with China, the way that we have been able to be there when India asks, whether it's on intelligence sharing or now defense equipment development, we are showing that this relationship is real and it is for the long haul. The most exciting thing I think I've worked on as ambassador, though, is the way that we're looking at technology together. You know, technology is a double-edged sword. Technology can be used to harm us. It can be used to misinform us. It can be used to divide us. And technology is coming so quickly, all of us as human beings wonder if our children and our children's children, what will that impact of technology be? Certainly I feel that as the father of a 12-year-old daughter. But the vision that the US and India brought together by both of our national security advisors, is that initiative of critical and emerging technologies. So instead of harming and dividing us, looking at the way technology can connect us and protect us. Be shaped by democratic values that we hold together, and the 4 Ps that I say are the hallmarks of our relationships: to build peace, to pursue prosperity, to protect our planet, and to promote our people. Those 4 Ps are undergirded by the 5th P, the principles that we share together around intelligence. So in quantum, in AI, in semiconductors, in telecommunications, in space and defense, in energy and climate, in agriculture, and of course in biotechnology, we are showing that multiplicative relationship to pay off not just for our peoples, but for the world. An example outside the defense sector, recently we developed new vaccines in the United States for malaria and for dengue fever, all 4 strains of it. But while the breakthrough of the research came in the United States, we knew the brilliance of the scaling up and production was here best in India. Sharing that IP with 3 Indian companies, one of them is now entering its 3rd phase of clinical trials to have the first ever dengue fever vaccine that can protect lives here in India and the world. At the Serum Institute, that malaria vaccine, we loaded up the first load of that into a truck going to an airport to be flown to Africa, where India would export to a continent a new vaccine to protect lives where 1 child dies every minute of malaria. So it is limitless what we can do together. And in the military space, we are looking together, how do we do, because we love our bureaucracies, both of us, how do we drive through those bureaucracies for faster results more quickly, to address export control issues, advance our defense industrial cooperation, and supporting India's goal of evolving into a global defense hub. We're committed to spurring investment in India's growing maintenance, repair, and overhaul, or MRO sector, which encompasses aircraft maintenance and mid-voyage repair of US Navy vessels, something we've seen India do brilliantly. On that front, we're already seeing progress. In the last 18 months, 3 US Navy ships successfully completed maintenance and repair work here in brilliant shipyards in India, including the USNS Charles Drew, an amazing hospital ship that does humanitarian work around the world. This reflects the US Navy's commitment to this relationship, and there's no greater form of trust than bringing our equipment to you. That is the depth of the trust that we have and the excellence that we have seen reflected here in India. And we're making strides under Indus X, which is the India-US Defense Acceleration Ecosystem. In fact, just last week in Silicon Valley, the hottest hotbed of innovation in the world, we brought together our Deputy Secretary, Kurt Campbell, leaders from India and the American defense ecosystems to match startups to address the challenges of a changing defense ecosystem, whether it's the application of AI in weapon systems, or whether it's looking at space and the way that we can confront that together with a rules-based, peaceful principle approach. We've launched a website that I commend to all of you for Indus X. We announced the 2nd round of joint prize challenges focused on space, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and unmanned aerial systems. So if you're a company in the audience today, join us with Indus X. Find an American partner. Look at how Indian companies are bringing brilliant solutions to the US defense challenges and vice versa. And now we're bringing capital together to fund those startups at the speed of light. And we finalized a memorandum of understanding between India's Innovations for Defense Excellence, or IDEX, and the US Defense Innovation Unit, DIU, which is taking ideas into the battlefield in 18 months. We have liaison officers who are now sitting at desks side by side with each other, confronting whether it's piracy in the Indian Ocean, missiles that threaten our international trade collectively, or looking at special operations trainings together. And the US-India defense relationship extends way beyond trade. In fact, as I speak here today, we have hundreds of our troops together at UWS, Charang Shakti and other exercises which are currently underway, and our naval exercise, Malabar, with our Quad partners, help build our mutual capacity for humanitarian emergencies and, God forbid, other threats that we will face together. And we've seen that positive impact. I've gone to those exercises. And let me tell you about the warmth between us. So many of our command staff here have now studied in the United States, and vice versa. We've brought in our officers here for exchanges. It's not the first time that we're meeting each other when we get together for exercises. We have deep relationships, trust, and experience that is there for when our people need us in an emergency. Whether it's confronting tsunamis or earthquakes, floods across the region, we now act together. We're talking with the Quad about how we forward deploy our humanitarian assistance and disaster relief together. And across the wider Indo-Pacific, we are saying we can find partners that will make sure we play by rules instead of make up the rules, that right should make might, not might make right. That, to us, is what makes two democracies together a multiplicative relationship. Democracies now must stand together more than ever before to take those values and principles that are written into our constitutions, that were part of our struggles for independence as nations, and that are part of the warmth that connects us in a world that's increasingly bellicose, in a war in a world in which people want to make up the rules as they're moving. We must stand together to say there are lines we cannot cross, that there are rules we must abide by, and that there is peace that we can build together in partnership. As our United States Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, stated, the Indo-Pacific region will shape the trajectory of the world in the 21st century. Our enduring commitment to this region and our collaboration with our allies and our partners to help us achieve a free, open, interconnected, prosperous, resilient, and secure region for all is our goal. And my friends, I know we share that together. As we celebrate our achievements, we should also look ahead. The conversations we have today must not be dialogue. They must lead to the continued action that our people are depending on. To build, to nurture trust, to listen to each other, not coming to teach and preach, but to listen and learn, to interconnect, and to put our stakes together in the future. Let us hear what your goals and your aspirations are. Let's find those moments where we can put in just a little bit more. Let us bring down the walls of bureaucracy. We have walls in our countries, but let's open huge doors to each other to continue that progress. America sees its future with India. And I came to this country as ambassador because I've said before, if you want to see the future, come to India today. If you want to work on the future, work in India today. And if you want to build a future, build on principle, on democracy, on the rule of law, and ultimately on Shakti, on peace, come work in India. When I studied Hindi as a young man, I know one of the proverbs in Hindi was alag desh, alag rivaj, another country, another custom. But I think increasingly when it comes to the US and India, it's do desh, two places, ek dil, one heart. May that heart beat strong and we may protect our people. Thank you. Dhanyavad.